Okay, we are live.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the special board meeting of trustees via Zoom live stream on YouTube on Monday, August 30th at 6 p.m. Can you call the roll? Ms. Harris.
Okay, trustee Steve,
Present.
trustee Norwood,
Present.
Here. Present.
I heard X. Okay, there we go. Trustee Norwood, trustee Belcher,
Here.
trustee Holmes,
Here.
trustee Brown,
Present.
and trustee House.
Present.
Okay, we have all 6 trustees present. And excuse me, Mayor, are we clocking it in at 6:10 p.m. or 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 6:10.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next, let's do prayer. Mr. Moore, if you would.
Yes, thank you. Father, we just come thanking you for this time to come together. We ask that you bless this meeting, Lord. Let your will be done. We ask for clarity of thought and understanding. And Father, the spirit of unity, Lord, give us the heart to serve your people. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Next, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
The
flag
flag of the United States of America.
and to the
And the
republic
republic for which
which
it stands,
stands one
one
nation
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you. Okay, next, we have consideration and approval of certain TIF ordinances. A, consideration and approval of an ordinance of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois, approving a redevelopment plan and project for the West Sibley Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area. B, consideration and approval of an ordinance of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois, designating the West Sibley Redevelopment Project Area. And C, consideration and approval of an ordinance of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois, adopting a tax increment allocation financing for the West Sibley Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area. Is there a point of inquiry?
Mayor, so moved on the point of consideration. I also would like to ask that there be clarity brought on this, and I would imagine, I think that's Attorney Vaselli. I do know that there was a settlement agreement on this for the TIF district to be pushed forward, and there were parameters around that. So if there could be some information brought to, is this document the same information that to conclude the settlement, and if there's any alterations, if you can elaborate on what those are.
And yes, to answer your question, it is. And Attorney Vasali, you have the floor. You want to come here?
Absolutely. I'm
Sure.
sorry.
Yes, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my computer is not functioning correctly. But thank you all. So there is some question about some of the numbers in the documents here tonight. There are 2 governing documents that we'll talk about for this process. The first is the settlement agreement. The settlement agreement stems from 2014 litigation between 300 West Sibley and the village. The settlement agreement is pending and contains provisions that include the owner's overall entitlement to reimbursement for eligible redevelopment project costs during the term of this agreement shall not be less than $2 million. You can find this provision under section 5.6 on page 6 of the settlement agreement. And essentially what that says is the owner will get at least $2 million from the TIF district. There's a second provision that's of note for us tonight, and that's on page 7 of the same document. And it says that subject to section 5.8 above, the owner shall be entitled to receive 80% of the annual incremental revenues generated by the subject property until such time as the owner has been reimbursed for its eligible redevelopment project costs. So from the settlement agreement, we have that for the life of the TIF district, up until all of the eligible redevelopment project costs are paid for, the owner will receive 80% of the tax increment generated on the property. The idea that there was a cap of $2 million is not accurate. The $2 million number is actually a minimum number, not an overall maximum number. What's actually more controlling in the TIF process is the redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan was authored by Kane McKenna, which is a nationally recognized TIF consulting firm. They are on the line tonight. If you look at your redevelopment plan, I draw your attention to pages 19 and 21 of the plan. On page 19, you'll see that in total estimated budget is $10.5 million. And I'll draw you again, your attention to page 21, which says, and let me read this to you, upon completion of the anticipated private development of the RPA, and that means redevelopment plan, over a 23-year period, it is estimated that the equalized assessed valuation of the property within the RPA will be approximately $3 to $4 million. So that says, again, these are all separate numbers. That says that at their estimate, their guess, informed guess, but guess is that when this is all done, the property will be worth $3 to $4 million. What's most interesting and most controlling on this is the aforementioned $10.5 million number. That number is the overall legal budgeted amount that you can spend on the TIF. And I want to be very clear here. That doesn't mean that we have to spend it. That doesn't mean that we should spend it. That means that we have the legal capability of spending it. It is the controlling number here. We don't need to spend every dollar of it. All we need to do is not spend more than that and spend it within and pursuant to the terms of the settlement agreement. There's no $2 million cap. The $2 million is a minimum. The cap from the settlement agreement is 80% of the tax increment generator. The tax under the TIF ordinances is the $10.5 million budget that we can spend but don't need to. And I want to make sure, Trustee House and Madam Mayor, that everyone is clear about the difference between these numbers. These numbers are wholly unrelated. They are as different as hot dogs and ice cream cones. One has very little to do with the other. Quite frankly. Trustee House, does that help?
I would say that's a good start. So
Sure.
Having said that, the documents that we have now, I think the main question that's posed, because I definitely want to make sure that we're honoring the settlement agreement. So the documents proposed, are these the same? Is this the same information consistent with the agreement, or have there been adjustments to the original settlement, to the settlement agreement? I'm assuming both are will keep us in compliance with the agreement.
Correct.
But is this document the same as the settlement agreement, or is there anything different on here?
So there are two separate legal documents. One is a plan that's required under the TIF Act, and the other one is a settlement agreement that is an attempt to close out or dispose of the litigation. Has there been changes on them? As far as I know, since this document, the TIF plan has been on file, it has not changed. The budget has not been increased. But to answer that question better, I would turn this over to Mr. Bob Richlicki, who is a nationally recognized TIF consultant with the firm of Kane McKenna. Bob?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, members of the board, Madam Mayor. As Mr. Vasali indicated, they are two different documents. The idea was, in relation to the trustee's point about the settlement agreement, was we had hoped that the plan would give enough flexibility to the village, that in order for you to comply with the terms of the settlement agreement, and without knowing exactly what's going to go there, I mean, that's the big unknown. We had to put some guesstimates in there. That's why the budget number was 10.5 million. Again, if you put a gas station on that site, it's not going to go anywhere near $10 million. If you have a strip center or two strip centers there, maybe a small food store, then possibly you get closer without knowing that in advance, because the village board hasn't approved anything yet. We want to make sure that you had the most flexibility. So the idea being is there's a number in there which sets out what the eligible costs are. The real number number that's going to comply with the settlement agreement will be in part what you allow to be built there and what they generate in taxes. If they don't generate, for example, if they don't generate $2 million in taxes, they can't get the 2 million. That's the bottom amount. If they generate 3 million, you know, it is possible for them to get 2 million and then 80% of 3 million. All the plan was meant to be is comply with the Illinois statutes, which we had to comply with in terms of what is in the plan. And secondly, the budget is to give the village flexibility going forward. Those were really from our end, when we drafted that plan, that was the key for us to put in there for the village.
Any questions?
This is Trustee Brown. So how do we arrive at 4 million then?
That will, in terms of the EAV, again, without knowing exactly what would go there, we looked at what, let's say, a 20,000 foot to a 50,000 foot retail facility would be, and we kind of reverse engineered it. Again, if it's, for example, if all that goes on there is a gas station, it would be lower than that. If you had a 2-story building on there, it'd probably be higher than that. It's important to point out that the number on page 26 or wherever Mr. Verselli pointed to is an estimate. And it's meant to be an estimate. It's our best guess at this time. And real life is going to dictate whatever that number is. But again, we kind of reversed engineer. We knew what was there in terms of that old grocery store and the square footage that was there. And we kind of we took something a little smaller than that and something a little larger than that to get to that number, the 4 million EAV.
So again, we don't have an idea of what we would like to put there, correct?
We do not, no. That is the purpose of the plan, is to give the village board. This plan does not take away any of your entitlement or your planning processes. The plan really is kind of an umbrella. It says that in the event the village of Dolton wants to redevelop something here, these are some of the general parameters. You have the boundaries. We had to put that had to be fixed. We had to put the boundaries of the area in there. We put an upside number for the budget, and we had our best guesstimate of what the value would be there. Again, because if it's retail, you got to have parking there. So, you know, we ballparked what the building footprint would be, and that's where we came up with that number.
And trustee, if I may, Bob, there is some reference to having a suitable anchor tenant in the settlement agreement. And that means a single tenant occupying at least 30,000 square feet.
There you go.
Of the current building, representing at least 75% of the existing square footage on the property. Examples of suitable anchor tenants include grocery stores, home improvement stores, automobile dealers, or other large sales tax commercial entities. And that's on page 5 and 6 of the settlement agreement. So much like the reference that Mr. Richlicki made to page 21 of the redevelopment plan, we have an idea of what we're looking for, but are not necessarily constrained by that. There is some flexibility to the village under the settlement agreement.
Right. And all we did, like I said earlier, is try to kind of reverse engineer, whether it was 30,000 feet or 40,000 feet, that kind of framed it. But again, I just want, it's not meant to limit the village. It's an estimate, and it's an estimate in the plan. And whatever you dictate or real life deal that's done, that will ultimately control. And they'll control how much taxes are generated.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes. May I be recognized?
Yes.
Was there a particular date? I was just want to ask him, was there a particular day that we had to make this decision?
Yes. So our deadline was the 3rd, September 3rd. So we had to have a special board meeting because our next board meeting is not scheduled till September 7th, which is next week, Tuesday. So that'll be well past the deadline.
Correct.
Got it. And one more question, because I know that it was told to me that the administration before us had already kind of worked things out.
Mhm.
What would, just so I'm clear before I make my vote, what was the change? I know that he stated a few things, but what was the ultimate change, I guess, in the dollar amount in regards to the TIFs? Because I know before I heard that it was like 2 million when I went back to the meeting and looked at it, and I said there was 2 million in the past. So what was he saying about the increase from the 2 million once before that the board agreed on to now?
Okay, I'm gonna put the attorney back on.
And I apologize, trustee, my computer's literally just not working. So the $2 million amount is the amount that they said when this settlement agreement was proposed, that they would pay no less than in tax increment. That's where that number comes in. And that's the only reference to $2 million in either the redevelopment plan or the settlement agreement. The budget that's been on file for the TIF district since, I believe, January the 11th of 2021 has been $10.5 million. Again, I'll ask Mr. Rich Licky to confirm that, but those are just two separate measures. One is how little amount we can give them under the settlement agreement.
Right.
And the other measure is what's our legal capacity to spend tax increment or TIF under the redevelopment plan.
That is correct. They're two different concepts, and that's well stated.
Got it. So in regards to the budget part of it, where we're saying is between one amount and the 10.5 million?
Well, I mean, the budgeted amount is a maximum capacity. So it's like our appropriation ordinance or filling
Right.
up, essentially,
Right.
think of it like filling up a cup of water. You can fill it up, you could spend up to $10.5 million. That's the capacity that we can fill it up to. We can't, without going through extraordinary steps, we can't spend more than $10.5 million. But trustee Norwood, I want to make something very clear. That does not mean we have to spend $10.5 million. That gives us the legal capacity to do so. Does that mean we will? No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. This TIF
Right.
may not generate 10.5 million.
That's the key. That's actually the key point. At the end of the day, what will the TIF generate? And then your settlement agreement sets a floor and a ceiling, but it all depends on what's built there and what kind of taxes are going to generate. And the board controls that.
Okay, because I guess this is what I'm wondering. I'm just wondering, I understand that we have to vote now, but it seems as if we'll vote now, but we still won't know when we're making our vote what'll go there. So I guess I'm wondering, let's just say, will we make that decision? Will we still make the decision to vote at the moment, and then how later on we'll agree on what'll go there?
Trustee Norwood, that's an excellent question.
That's
Okay.
right.
And most of the time, many times, when a TIF district is passed, some of the best TIFs I've worked with, we didn't know what was going there at that point in time. We knew we had a property that needed redevelopment. We knew we needed to give them governmental funds to go forward, but we were unsure at that point in time what would go there. It happens all the time. Literally, one of my most successful developments, we re-TIFed the property and Amazon built a station out there. I'm not saying Amazon's coming to Dolton, but I'm giving you a real life example of the fact that we don't know, but that's okay. The TIF Act allows for that. And that's why there's a
Right.
23-year period in here. So
And
one
and
other
the
thing,
village-
Bob, and then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
We do have some parameters under the settlement agreement of what we're going to have in a redevelopment agreement. But I assure you, trustee Norwood, and I guarantee before any redevelopment agreement comes back before this board, you will know what the terms are. You will know what the uses are. If there's zoning that needs to be going through there, it will have to go through that process. It will go through the business license process. You will have numerous checks and balances at this point in time to make sure that this is a suitable development for the village of Dolton.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And just one last question, because it's all becoming a little bit clearer. Let's just say, because I hear you saying that we have up to 10.5 million, but we don't necessarily have to spend that. So I
Correct.
guess my next question is, will it come back before us when you all come up with an amount? Let's just say when you all do have an idea, does that come back before us again for us to decide? Or is it like, hey, 10.5 million was spent and this is where we are? And you
It'll
all
come
kind of
back
agree
before
on it?
you. It'll come back before you.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This trustee Brown, I have one question. I can't figure out what page it's on. I'm trying to locate it, but it did say it was a family entertainment center. Could possibly go there.
So I am going to pull up the settlement agreement, Trustee Brown.
Okay.
Give me one moment. So I did not write the settlement agreement, and I'm not going to relitigate the way that it's drafted.
Okay.
It doesn't really provide for us a lot of specificity. It's vague. And while some people might think that's good, I would prefer to have a little bit more structure. It's not anything we can do at this point in time. But let me read to you what the examples are. It says examples of suitable anchor tenants include grocery stores, home improvement stores, automobile dealers, or other large sales tax producing commercial entities. But that's just an example. There's no strict definition of a suitable anchor tenant. So there is flexibility for the village to choose a development at this point in time. If there's stricture that says it will be a Zayres or a Kmart, and I'm using those examples because they're not in existence anymore, it makes it a little bit easier. It does not say that. What it says is examples of suitable anchor tenants include grocery stores, home improvement stores, automobile dealers, or other large sales tax producing commercial entities. So that could be what you were talking about because it's a sales tax producing commercial entity. Any such sales tax producing commercial entity is an example, but we're not bound by that example. Does that help, Trustee Brown?
So other could be anything.
I mean, it is.
Anything that would generate revenue is what you're saying.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Even with that, we still have to keep into consideration. I don't know if any of the other trustees remember, but talking to some of the residents, entertainment was definitely not one of the things that the residents chose to come back to that actual address again. They were totally against anything with entertainment because of the traffic.
Mhm.
Trustee Brown, that's an excellent point. And it's something we'll talk about later on. Tonight, we are here to talk about the TIF ordinances, 3 ordinances that need to get passed pursuant to the Tax Increment Allocation Act. That is not germane for tonight, but it's something we could talk about later on down the road.
Thank you.
If I can, I want one more for attorney.
Go ahead.
Musical chairs here, everybody.
Okay, so I want to, because of your point to Trustee Brown in terms of what we're voting on tonight, because I think at least what I'm trying to focus on is making sure that we remain compliant with the settlement agreement, and so I'm getting from there that that's accomplished in here. But so there are future steps. Then it sounds like to this deal. Can you kind of talk about tonight, because I think we want to make sure we do what's compliant with the settlement agreement, but
Sure.
not making any adjustments, just sticking with the settlement agreement, and then talking about what are the next steps of this process.
It's excellent, Trustee House, and I'll answer those questions. So let's think of it as a 2-step process. The first, and there's multiple more steps in that, but to simplify it, it's a 2-step process. The first step is passing and approving the TIF district. That's what we're here for tonight. That's what we posted for, and that's why we're having this special meeting, to make sure we're in compliance with law. The second step is entering into redevelopment agreement with parameters as set forth in Article 5 and 5, 6, and 7, or later articles of the settlement agreement. And we will do that at a later date. A proposal will come to the board. The board is required to vote on that proposal, and then we go forward. But tonight, we are just here to review and consider for approval the 3 ordinances to pass the TIF as required by the settlement agreement. Does that help, Trustee House?
That does. I mean, I guess, and in short order, maybe I'm putting more words to it. So just yes or no. If we're doing this now, we're only doing what the settlement agreement is, and we're not making any adjustments to the settlement agreement.
That's correct, sir.
That's it for me.
Thank you, Trustee House.
Any other questions?
Sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, one more for time.
I like this chair.
Last question.
Yes.
So I heard you state that the minimum again was 2 million.
That's correct.
So at this moment, when we make our vote, is that vote for the 2 million?
No,
that
it's
they
not.
agreed
That's
on.
a good question. That's a good question, trustee. The vote, and it goes back to trustee House's question. The vote tonight is just to pass the TIF districts. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with the terms of the redevelopment agreement, which I will bring back to you when we're there. We're not there yet. All we're doing tonight is passing those 3 ordinances to get the TIF district underway.
Okay, so you're pretty much saying right now we're just agreeing to approve the TIF, but later on we'll have more information to decide on things such as the $2 million, what's that amount, and then the amount for the budget.
Absolutely, trustee. It's well put.
Got it. So it's going to come. So even if we choose to approve it tonight we're just approving to go forth with something that the previous administration had already voted on. And we're just saying, hey, we're going to approve it since they have already agreed upon it, but it'll be brought back to us in regards to the terms and the amount and regarding the money and what goes there at a
I
later
couldn't
time.
have said it better myself, trustee. That's exactly
Okay.
right.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're clear. All right. Thank you, attorney.
Any other, before I get up, I'm getting older, so it's a little harder for me to get up and down. Before I get up, are there any more questions?
Just one
Yes,
more.
this-
question. So there is no dollar amount.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I am back. All right, thank you, Attorney Vasali, and thank you, Mr. Bob. Is there a motion to approve the TIF?
Oh, so move.
Motion
To consider and approval of an ordinance of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, approving the redevelopment plan and project for the West Sibley Tax Increment Finance and Redevelopment Project Area.
I'll make the motion. I just want to kind of state for clarity, I think the intention is to making sure, I believe Attorney Vasselli said it, but for clarity, the intent is to make sure that we are sticking with the TIF agreement consistent with the settlement, with our settlement agreement. But it sounds like that's in there, so I'll motion for the approval of items A, B, and C within section 5.
I second.
You have to do them one by one, so A, then B, then C. So,
Okay, well, I will motion that we move
Okay.
forward with section A of item 5.
and
I
who
second.
second? Thank you, Trustee Holmes. There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Okay, so I have a motion, excuse me, I'm sorry, by trustee House and second by trustee Holmes. Trustee Steve,
Aye.
trustee Norwood,
Aye.
trustee Belcher,
Aye.
trustee Brown.
Aye.
Okay, so we have motion by trustee House, second by trustee Holmes, and then 4 ayes.
4, isn't it 6 trustees?
I mean, okay, I'm sorry. So trustee Holmes
Aye.
and then trustee House. I
Aye.
do apologize. All right.
Mhm.
6 ayes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay,
Is
so
there?
that, just so I stand corrected, Mayor, that is for section A of it, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So now I'm asking for a motion for section B.
Okay.
So moved. I move that moving forward with approval of section B, item 5.
I
Okay, I'm
second.
gonna read it, and there's a motion and second on the floor, but I'm gonna read it into record. Consideration and approval of an ordinance of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois, designating the West Sibley Redevelopment Project Area. There's a motion and second. Can you please call the roll?
Sure. So I have motion by trustee House for section B and then second by trustee Holmes for section B. Trustee Steve,
Aye.
trustee Norwood,
Aye.
trustee Belcher,
Aye.
trustee Holmes,
Aye.
trustee Brown,
Aye.
and trustee House.
Aye.
All right, we have 6 ayes for section B.
All right, motion carries. Next, can I have a motion for consideration and approval of an ordinance of the Village of Dolton, Cook County, Illinois, adopting a tax increment allocation financing for the West Sibley Tax Increment Finance and Redevelopment Project Area?
I'll motion to approve item as read by Mayor Henyard.
All right, there's a second.
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Please call the roll.
Trustee Steve,
Aye.
trustee Norwood,
Aye.
trustee Belcher,
Aye.
trustee Holmes,
Aye.
trustee Brown,
Aye.
trustee Howells.
Aye.
Okay, we have 6 ayes for section C.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. Next, we have consent agenda. First, we have letter A, consideration and approval of an ordinance authorizing and approving a lease agreement between Kirby Rehabilitation, Inc. and the Village of Dolton. And then letter B, consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing and approving a certain government agency customer agreement between Flock Group, Inc. and the Village of Dolton. Is there a motion and a second for this? Can I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we table item A and we pass item B with the cameras, and then table the lease agreement.
Okay, so for the record, just so you guys know, you guys already approved this in the consent agenda. I'm just putting it on the agenda so that we can get an actual vote through vote here at the board meeting. Just so you know, that company is already in the building. So if you guys don't want to do approval via this way, it's already has been approved. So that's for letter A.
Excuse me, Mayor. Can I be recognized?
Yes, one second. Let me finish my statement. As it relates to B, flock safety, you did the same thing. That's why I say consent agenda. When I say consent agenda, that means that majority voted for these items. And currently now I'm just seeking that we put it up for the public knowledge and they know that we all approved these items through an email vote. So that's the reason for this. If you guys want to table, you can, but just know that the company has already been approved and already is in the building. Does that answer your question, Trustee Steve? Did you want to amend that, or you still want to leave it as a table?
Well, let me ask the attorneys.
Okay, sure.
It's pretty much they being at its passed through email. Is pretty much nothing we can do as far as table now. If we want to add anything to it or ask some more questions about it.
Right, from the last board meeting, that's why we was trying to get it approved and everybody agreed that they would do the consent agenda. So during the consent agenda, everybody weighed in whether it was a yay or nay. And basically, once we got the votes, we basically told the company they can proceed and move into the building. Currently now, they have a lease of 3 years. It is for $1,500 for the first 6 months, and then it is $1,800 thereafter. But they are going inside the building. The building is up to code. There's nothing wrong with the building. I know there's questions about that, but everything is up to par. And I refer to Ashanti, Attorney Ashanti.
So first thing, let me wait for the mute. Okay. So first, just procedurally, there was a motion to table. I did not hear if there was a second before we even go down the path.
Well,
Yes.
it was.
Okay. So
It wasn't a motion. A second, the mayor stepped in, and then nobody else.
turn my speakers up.
But I'll motion a second if we need a second.
For this.
So I couldn't hear because my volume was down. But as far as like Trustee Steve, your question, the board was polled previously and indicated that everyone was on board. And so based upon that, we were seeking ratification of that action here formally.
Okay, this is Trustee Brown. It says consent for approval of board item 4, Flock Group Incorporated contract for public safety cameras. That's what it says. Now, am I reading something incorrectly? It says, trustees, please provide consent for this purchase of public safety cameras for Flock Group Incorporated to help police department with solving crimes committed in Dolton. It didn't say anything about the building for the mental health facility. I must be reading something incorrectly.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, trustee. So basically y'all have 3 or 6 different emails. So Clerk Brown sent it out the night that you guys didn't show up to the meeting. We basically sent the email to every board member and you all have weighed in separately to each email. So if you go through your emails, you'll see both of these items via email, and then what the vote count was via email. So that's why,
Okay.
again, it's in consent agenda, because we had majority votes for both items. And again, I'm just putting it up for clarity for the residents, being transparent and showing you guys that, okay, we voted through email and this was the end result. So,
Okay, so who all voted? I voted yes for the cameras. I voted no for the contract. So can we have a breakdown of who voted what?
yeah, let me pull it up on my email. I don't have it in front of me to tell you who voted what.
Because I didn't vote on that one. I don't think. Let me double check.
Yeah, even if you didn't vote there, you still have to vote here in the open. So if it's a no, you don't want them, say no. If it's yes, then say yes. And if you undecided, say you're undecided.
Okay, if we're voting tonight, my vote is no.
Okay, when we get to it, we will call you and you can put your vote on record.
Thank
So-
you.
And then Mayor, here, Mayor, question for you. You said that can also be an undecided.
Yeah, like if you can abstain, basically. So if you don't want to vote for the company to go in, and again, I'm trying to tell y'all they're already in there, but if you don't want to vote for them to go in, then just say you change your mind, you don't want them to go in, or your vote is no. Or if you abstain, then abstain from voting. Let me see. So let me find, because I'm gonna read it into record, so if you guys give me 2 minutes, and I can read the votes into record for you. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna mute this.
I have a question for Attorney Welch, Mayor, if I could be recognized.
Okay, give me 1 minute. Let me find this so I can read into record, then I can address you. Okay, I'm back. I finally found it. It's a lot of emails. Okay, this was Wednesday, and this was the vote count for consent. So the people that voted yes for Old Village Hall for them to go into the building was Trustee Belcher, Trustee Holmes, and Trustee House. And I broke tie, where it was 3, and I was the 4th vote. So that's how we are where we are now. So when everybody's saying they didn't vote for it, did vote for it, those are the votes.
Mayor,
Okay, yes, go ahead, Trustee.
I sent the email when I asked questions that nobody respond, and Village Administrator Dorothy Brown was on there, and all of the other trustees saying that I rescinded my vote. Do you not have that email?
Okay, so you sent that when? The day after. So you voted for it that day. And when everybody voted for whatever they voted for, same with flock safety, we told everybody that they had the votes and we moved forward. So then you rescind your vote the next day. We cannot, and I repeat, for any trustees, play games like that. When you guys vote for something, we give people our word and we tell them they can move forward. That's why we really should not do consent agenda, which I agree with the attorneys. They said we shouldn't because you guys go up and down. You can't. Once you give a vote, it's done. We move forward and then we wait till the next board meeting, which normally takes 2 more weeks. Now, the tenant, when we told them that, they already spent money to go into the building. They had a deadline. As you know, they are state funded as well. So I don't understand why we would play with people going into a building where we going to receive revenue for the Village of Dolton. I don't even get what's the problem. All your questions that you did ask was answered.
When were they answered, Mayor?
Hold on, let me finish, Trustee. As relates to they have insurance, the building's up to code, because the other trustees asked me the same questions. So I've been answering them questions left to right. So there's no problem with the building or the people going inside the building. And from my understanding, majority of you did speak with the person that's going inside the building, who is Sam. So now here we are. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I'd rather call the roll. If you're going to vote for it,
You cannot call the roll because I was in the middle of a conversation.
Hold on.
That's rude. I'm
talking. Point of order. Point of order, Trustee.
You don't have no order. That's rude.
Point of order. Yeah, you out of order. Point of order. Stop.
Back to the original conversation, Mayor.
Trustee.
Because I was
talking, right? Did I know how to pull up? Let me let you finish. Let me let you finish.
Right.
Go ahead.
That was the issue. I asked, I be recognized. Of course, you cut me off and didn't let me finish. You made your statement that I voted. Then you started talking about I was playing games. That's the reason where we at right now. For one, we shouldn't have had consent to vote like how the attorneys are saying. It shouldn't be going over email. I have questions. Questions are never answered. I've sent several emails. You done told your staff and everybody else don't answer our emails. We don't have an attorney that we can trust and get valid questions answered. So when I sent the email, I sent it to everybody so they can see, and I knew this would come about. That's why I was shaking my head. I don't care one way or another. The issue is that we cannot trust you because of the fact that when we have questions to ask, you talking about everybody ask questions and saying, when did you ask any questions that I sent an email? When have they been answered? They have not been answered. You haven't picked up the phone to call, and no, I'm not calling you like you're not calling me. However it was. But at the end of the day, we still have to do what's in the best interest of the village. The emails was not answered. The questions was not answered, Mayor. And you can go and say, you made it when you said, y'all can do what y'all want to do anyway, saying that they already in the building. So if it passed or didn't pass, it wouldn't even matter. The issue is you got to respect people. You are inconsiderate, you're rude. And if we had an attorney that actually would respond to us, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now I can go back and forth with this trustee. I could check her. I could tell all the flaws. I could do all of that. But y'all don't get a different Mayor Tiffany here today. So just so you guys know how Robert rules go, when you have the floor, you need to stick to agenda items. We can go back and forth about who do what, who say what, but I'm not going to stoop to Trustee Belcher's level. So that's called the row. This is where we are. If you guys would like to proceed with bringing revenue to the Village of Dolton and having the person inside the building, vote yes. If you do not, vote no. If you want to abstain, abstain. But this is a special meeting. It shouldn't be this drawn out or this long. So any other questions before I ask for a motion?
May I be recognized?
Yes, go ahead, trustee Steves.
I think we gotta, at least offer some context of what's going on. We did get the email through consent through email after the meeting that trustees, we didn't show up, but that was predicated by the previous board meeting that was ended or cut or canceled.
Okay, wait, trustee, one
I'm
second.
saying there's a reason for, there's a
Okay,
reason
but
for,
listen
I
to
don't
what
want,
I'm
it seems
saying.
like, hold on, let me finish. It seems like per trustees, you're saying, people, I don't want to trust people to think the trustees don't know what's going on. We got this consent email, which we did, but it was the last minute because we didn't show up to a board meeting. But that was in response to the board meeting this would have got passed, that board meeting that got canceled unbeknownst to us. So I just want to give some context what's going on. So, I mean, we can take the vote, but I just want to leave some context of what's going on, where we're not just so confused about the vote or this and that. It's not that. It started with the canceled meeting, then we didn't show up to the meeting. That's where we're at. Then we got a bunch of emails after that meeting. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay, so I did say that, and what everybody don't understand, that's why the board is the way it is. Y'all gotta learn Robert Rules of Order. When we speak, you're supposed to stick to agenda items. If you have something to say, that's what's called general announcements, but we have to stick to the agenda, guys. We can't stray off and get into bickering and I want to say pissing contests, but we can't do it. We're supposed to stick to the items and be business oriented up here and not go back and forth because we can easily stray from the agenda. So what I'm asking now is us to get back on order, back on track, and basically stick to the agenda. So I'm gonna start with, is there a vote for consideration and approval of an ordinance authorizing and approving a lease agreement between Kirby Rehabilitation, Inc. and the Village of Dolton? Is there a motion? Okay, one sec. Is there a motion for that? Okay, no motion. Next, is there a motion for consideration and approval of a resolution?
Excuse me, Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yeah, one second. Let me just read this. Let me read this into record and I got you. One second. Is there consideration and approval of a resolution authorizing and approving a certain government agency customer agreement between Flock Group, Inc. and the Village of Dolton? So I'm gonna leave that there, then someone can motion a second. Go ahead, trustee Norwood was first and then trustee Holmes.
I had a question. You just moved on me. I had a question about what you're saying.
Go ahead.
My question was in regards to the lease. Do you know who make the changes? And if there ever needs to be changes to the lease, I guess my question was, who makes the changes? Does it come before the board? Does it come before the board? Or?
So if it's something that you guys have a issue with, you will address the attorney. The attorney is the one that negotiates or speaks about the lease or talks to the tenant.
Got it. Okay. So right now, because you all kind of confused me when you went to ask the questions, you were asking for a motion, correct? For the flock.
Oh yeah, we're on flock now because it died because no one wanted to make a motion for Kirby to go inside the building.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
All right, go ahead, trustee Holmes.
No, I was on mute. I had motion, but I was on mute.
Okay, so you motioned for which one, A or B?
I really motioned for both because I had approved them anyway. I think we should move forward with getting the revenue.
Okay, so there's a motion and second to approve A and B. Is there a second to approve the consent agenda?
All right, Mayor, may I be recognized?
Okay, one second.
Okay.
Is there a second for the motion for A and B on consent agenda? Okay, motion dies. Go ahead.
Okay, because I just wanted to make sure that we had it on record. Initially, it was no motion for section A of the two agenda items, even though trustee Holmes said he was on mute. So is it on record that you verbally said no motion, or are we backtracking and saying that trustee Holmes indicate that he wanted to motion for both?
Yeah, so now you would say that there was a motion for both and then it dies because he didn't get a second. So now we will move to B to see if they're gonna approve flock safety. So if it's a motion or second for flock safety, and then if it's not, it dies, we move on.
I make a motion to pass flock safety.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Can you call the roll?
We have motion by trustee Steve for section B and then second by trustee Holmes. Trustee Steve,
Aye.
trustee Norwood,
Aye.
trustee Belcher,
Aye.
trustee Holmes,
Aye.
trustee Brown,
Aye.
and trustee House.
Fast clarity, this is flock safety or this is the,
This is flock safety, section B.
okay, aye.
Okay,
6 ayes for section B of the agenda items.
all right, thank you. Motion carries. Next, we have appointment of Board of Fire and Police Commission. Basically, I am looking for approval from my board to appoint Philip wait a minute, hold on. Is it on here? I'll look for Fletchman. Philip Williams, Robert Sherrill, William Fletchman, Brenda Richardson, and Stanley Brown for the Board of Commission. Is there a motion to appoint the Board and Fire Commission?
I motion.
Is there a second? Okay, no second. Next, we have appointment of the zoning board members. Is there a motion to appoint William Fletchman, Brenda Richardson, and Stanley Brown to the zoning board? Is there a motion? Okay, no motion. For the record, you guys, I just need you to know that you guys have to make a decision and not keep holding up progress as it relates to the Police and Fire Commission Board and also the Zoning Board. It's things that need to be done in the community, and I am advising the board to take heed to that and do what's best for community. I will be having a Board of Fire and Police Commission this week, so we could take care of some business at hand that I guess the Board of Trustees don't want to do. So that will be coming up. Next, can we do public comment? Derek, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead with your questions.
Okay, what can the TIF money be spent on? Has Kirby and Flock made a presentation to the village, and was there a RFP for services?
Nope.
What street on Sibley is this development on? Can you explain to the residents why there is a need for a settled agreement? And that's it.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have motion by trustee Holmes and second by, did I get it, trustee Belcher? Thank you, because I think it was two, okay. Second by trustee Belcher. Trustee Steve?
Aye.
Trustee Norwood?
Aye.
Trustee Belcher?
Aye.
Trustee Holmes?
Aye.
Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee House? Trustee House?
Aye.
Okay. All right. We have 6 ayes for meeting to adjourn. The time is now 7:04 p.m.
Okay, meeting adjourned. See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
All right.